In this video, I want to go over all the different ways you may be asked to write equations. This would be a great review for a big test, or if you are a teacher, this would be a great review for your class as well. If you'd like the handout that goes with this video, check the link in the corner and the link in the description. All of our equations are going to be in slope-intercept form. You may be asked to put that into standard form after that, but I didn't want to include that in this video because that just would make it too long and a little confusing. How do you write an equation into slope-intercept form if you're telling you that the slope is -8/3 and the y-intercept is 5? Well, the slope is the m in the equation, and the y-intercept is 5. So this is easy. All you have to do is plug these numbers into this little formula, write it down. There's no work to do. -8/3 x plus 5. The next one is if they give you a graph. How do you write an equation from a graph in slope-intercept form? Well, you still need these two pieces of information. You got to know the y-intercept and the slope. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. It's right there. It is +3. And the slope, probably know this, but we're going to use rise over run. I'm not going to play with points and formulas. If I have a graph, I can just count the boxes. In this case, you need to find another point somewhere on the line. And even though this one looks really close, it's not exactly on the 2. I'm pretty sure this is where the next point is. Now, to get from first point to the second point, going from left to right, I would have to drop down 7 units. That means my rise is negative, it is -7. And then I move over 5 units on my run. So my slope is -7/5. Once you have these two pieces of information, you can just write the equation. Y equals -7/5 x plus 3. How to write an equation if they give you just a general point and the slope. There's actually 2 ways to do this. I am going to show you both. We know that this is an x and this is a y, and we know that the slope is going to be the m in the equation. This is not the y-intercept, so you can't use that b. You have to solve for that b. So I take the equation y equals mx plus b. I know an x, I know an y, I know an m, and I can put all those things in here. The only variable I don't know is the b, and that's what I need to find out. This is a 4 because the y is 4. -9 comes from the slope, and -1 comes from the point for x. Working that out, we're going to end up with 4 equals +9. -9 times -1 is +9 plus b. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides, and 4 minus 9 is -5. So b equals -5. So I know the slope, and I know the y-intercept, so I can write the equation y equals -9x minus 5. Now remember that because I'm going to show you a different way to do it. For method 2, it's going to feel like it's more work, but I've actually had more success in class teaching kids how to do it this way, and that's using my superhero point-slope formula. I love this formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I know it's more complicated looking, but it's so slick. Watch this. I use this formula a lot. x1, y1 are going to go here, and those come from the point. The y and the x that are in the formula, they're staying in there in the formula because so that you get a y and an x in the answer as an equation, and your slope is still m. Now I'm just going to pop all this information into that little formula. We're going to simplify. Y minus 4 equals -9 times x plus 1. This works out to be a plus because there's a double negative. I use distributive property. -9 times x is -9x. -9 times 1 is -9. Now we are going to solve for y, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. We got the same answer. What I really can't explain is why my algebra classes like this formula more than doing it the other way. And I think it's just because the point-slope formula is so handy in so many situations that you don't have to remember 2 different ways of doing things. Now we're giving just 2 points. They're not even telling us what the slope is, and I need to know that. I'm going to have to find the slope from these points, and then I am going to use the point-slope formula. You could also use that first method, but I'm going to stay consistent because I really like this formula. So first of all, I got to find the slope. I have 2 points, so I have to designate them as first point, x1, y1, and second point, x2, y2. And then you have a slope formula. Now we're going to calculate what that is. It's the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So y2 is 4, y1 is -1. So on the top, we're going to have 4 minus a -1. On the bottom, x2 minus x1 would be 5 minus the 2. Simplifying, that becomes 4 plus 1 over 3, and our slope is 5/3. Now, in my point slope formula, I'm going to use the first point. It really doesn't matter, but just to be clear, I'm going to use the first point all the time. I have y minus y1, so I have y minus -1 equals 5/3 times x minus 2. Simplifying, we get y plus 1, and then use the distributive property. 5/3 times x, 5/3 times -2 would be -10/3. And now we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. And what that's going to be is y equals 5/3 x minus 10/3, which was what was already over here. But when you subtract a 1, I'm going to switch it into a common denominator situation. 1 is 3/3. So we end up with 5/3 x minus 13/3. Write an equation in slope-intercept form if the x-intercept is 3 and a y-intercept is -2. Shouldn't be a, it should be the. You already know your y-intercept. It's this. So the only thing you need to find right now is the slope, because I know that this b is going to be -2. Okay, well, I have 2 points and I have a slope formula. I know how to do all of that. X-intercept is 3, 0, and the y-intercept is 0, -2. So I'm going to pop those into my slope formula, do the calculations. I'm going to end up with -2 over -3, which simplifies to just being 2/3. So that's my slope, 2/3. That's my answer. Y equals 2/3 x minus 2. That's a lot easier because I gave us this y-intercept. We didn't have that on the last one. These tend to throw people off a little bit because they're not sure what's going on. So let's make a plan. You still always have to have a slope. And we're going to use our point slope formula again, because once we figure out what the slope is and we have a point, we can use this formula. You have to understand what parallel means. Parallel means that these two lines will not cross, and the only way that happens is if they have the same slope. If you want to be parallel to this line that has a slope of 1/6, you have to use that same slope in your equation. Using the point slope formula and filling in everything I've got, y minus +2 equals 1/6 times x minus a -2. Got a double negative thing happening there, so that's going to change to a plus. Going to do the distributive property right now. 1/6 times x is 1/6 x, and 1/6 times 2 is 2/6. 2/6 is going to reduce to 1/3. Need some room. I need to add 2 to both sides. So it'll cancel on this side, so you just end up with y. 1/6 x plus 1/3 was what I had, and adding 2 to that. Got to have common denominators, so 2 changes to 6/3, because 6 divided by 3 is 2. And when you add 1 and 6, you get a 7. So that is our answer. See, it gets harder. It starts out pretty nice, but it gets harder as you go. And you may not have seen all this stuff in your class yet. That's fine. You'll see it eventually. All right, now a point and a line perpendicular. Let's do it with the y equals mx plus b thing, just solving for b. Perpendicular means you have two lines that make a 90-degree angle. They have a relationship between their slopes. And that relationship is that their slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. What that means, opposite is talking about the sign. So the perpendicular slope will be positive if you're starting out with one that's negative. Negative, positive, opposite. Reciprocal means flip it over. So instead of 3/2, you have 2/3. Now you have your slope. Let's find the b by using y equals mx plus b. X is 3, y is 4. Pop everything in. Oh my gosh, do you see that? 2/3 times 3. Oh, thank you. Sometimes it works out. 2/3 times 3 ends up being 6/3, and 6/3 reduces to 2. You may have learned it that when you multiply a fraction times its denominator, the denominator cancels. That's pretty slick. Subtract 2 from both sides. Our b equals 2, because 4 minus 2 is 2. Right answer, Boom, got it really quick. I love that. If you would like to have the same kind of overview on how to graph lines, click into this video next. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.